Hi, it's Mia Martin. Welcome to Financial Freedom, where we bring you the resources you need to learn more about how to better position yourself and your future. Today, we have a special guest, and we're very excited to feature Morgan Summers. Thank you for joining us today, Morgan.
Thank you for having me, Mia.
Awesome. We're super excited to learn more about everything that you have to offer. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and what you specialize in, and really how you can help those that may have questions.
Yes, so my name is Morgan Summers. I am a financial advisor, and I really help people get on the path to financial freedom and build a legacy and generational wealth as well. And it really all started with my parents, coming from a very small town, having big dreams and big goals, and unfortunately, they didn't have the financial knowledge because it wasn't passed down from their parents. And as they were going through their journey, they turned out fine and great, actually, but by having that knowledge, that could have helped them avoid so many mistakes and save a lot of time, stress, and money. And so they were very intentional about teaching me as I was growing up. At the early age of 5 years old, I was collecting coins around the house and taking it to the piggy bank and just thinking long term. Middle school, I was writing the checks for the house and learning that money does not grow on trees and the cost of living. And then in high school, that's when I really learned just how to get into the right mindset of when I got my first income, I would take half of it, put into my savings account. The other half is all that I had to live off of. So just learning how to live below my means. And because of those things that I learned early on, I started to realize that it's not always talked about in schools, and not everybody knows that information, but it's so reliable. It's so important to know and to help you get from point A to point B. So that's what I like to do, just be that gap to help people turn their dreams and goals into reality.
I love it, Morgan. I love it. Could you talk a little bit more about why we should start early and the fact that it's never too late as well?
Yes, so one of the great benefits of just starting early is that it doesn't put such a huge burden on you to feel like if you have a goal of buying a new house that you have to have all of that all at once. If you start early, you can just do small amounts that can turn into big results. And that goes honestly with any type of habit that you're starting to create. Start small and work your way up, because building wealth is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what advice do you have for young professionals that may be a little intimidated by the financial planning or investing process?
That's a great one. To just get started, honestly, just get started. I tell anybody, even if you if you're putting away just $10 away towards the future, do it. Because in order to be great, you have to start. Everyone has to start from somewhere, so the earlier, the better.
And when you talked about living below your means, sometimes that could be harder, right? Or easier said than done. For someone who's maybe just getting started in their career and it's very exciting because they're starting to finally make money, what advice do you have for them for keeping things in order and maybe not splurging quite so much?
Absolutely. So the first thing I would say is to get in the right money mindset, is what I like to say. And a money mindset is really what drives your decisions around money, whether it's saving, whether it's spending. So first, you got to understand your beliefs. What is that driving factor? And then I would say to create goals. What is it that you want? But don't just say, I want to make more money, because guess what? If you get $1 the next day, you've made more money. More so tie it in and be specific and tie into what is your why? Why do you want to achieve that goal? Make it emotional so that when you're going on your journey, it's not, I'm just saving money just because I know I'm supposed to do it. I'm saving money because this is important to me. And I start to think about, if I don't save money, who's counting on me? Who's counting on me to succeed? And what happens if I don't succeed? And let that be your driving force. So it's super important to get in the right money mindset, to understand why you do what you do, create goals, make sure that they're emotional goals, and then to just take it step by step. And if you mess up, it's okay. We all mess up. But it's what are you going to do next is the most important thing.
Absolutely. And we've talked a little bit about the younger people, and them not being intimidated by the process. But what if you've been working for a while and maybe you haven't started the financial planning process, or you haven't started saving because you're just finally at a point where you have extra residual income? What advice do you have for someone who may just be starting the process but later in life?
Yes, and that actually comes up a lot, and especially comes up when trying to decide if I'm going to pay for my child's college education and saving for that, or am I going to decide to pay for and save for retirement. It's a hard decision because both are so important. And I would just say, when you get in a comfortable position, just start putting something away. You just have to get started. That's the best advice I could give you. And then also to plan in advance. So I like to tell people to create sinking funds, which are where you're planning for those unexpected events and you're telling every dollar where to go. So for example, if you were to make $3,000 and your expenses are $2,000, what are you gonna do with that leftover $1,000? Don't let it just sit in your bank account. Tell it where to go. So tell $200 to go towards retirement. I know it's not a lot, but it will eventually add up to be. Put $200 away towards your children. Put $200 in your emergency fund and so forth. But create those emergency funds and just start. $1 is better than $0. So that's the best advice I can give. I know it might be intimidating because you might feel behind, but the only thing you can do is just to make sure, reach out to professionals and get their guidance and direction, because you never know. You don't know what you don't know, and they might be able to provide some additional information to help you on your journey.
Now, you shared a wonderful story about how your parents taught you at a very young age to start thinking about money and the value of money, saving and allocating money appropriately. For the parents that are out there that have children who'd like to start that process with their children as well, what advice would you have for parents to make that process easier?
I would say lead by example. One thing kids are really good at is that they do watch their parents and the environment that they're in, and they're always listening. And so I would say, one, just lead by example, and two, to just have those conversations around money. I remember when my father even would speak about a 401k, and I'm a little girl at the time, just trying to figure out what kind of toy do I like at that time. But the thing is, I might have not known at that moment, but later on in life, I started to hear more about a 401k, and it became more familiar to me at an early age because I was exposed to it. So I would just say to have money conversations with your children now. They might not understand it, but they will, and make saving fun. My mother turned that into a game. So we would see who could collect the most money around the house. And it was just little coins here and there, but it was just so much fun once I saw the jar fill all the way up. And she would even get me a checkbook as well, and she would take me to the bank, teach me the difference between a checking and a savings account. And again, that exposure, and it also felt like a sense of responsibility at such a young age too, and I would say to start there.
Absolutely, and I know that there are some people out here now with the debit cards and credit
Yes.
cards, and maybe they're not even writing checks as much as they did traditionally. So
yes.
really still understanding that process is still very important. Now, for the terminology, right? 401ks, IRAs, there's all these different investment vehicles, and that could also be intimidating to someone who is wanting to learn more about financial literacy. What advice would you have for someone who would like to just maybe learn a little bit more information before booking an appointment with an expert or a professional? Where could they start?
Books. There's so much knowledge in books, and to the point when I got my first job, my boss gave me a book every single month to read, and it expanded my horizons, just my thought process, and so much more, because there's so much wisdom in books that people are leaving that education behind so that you can learn about it. A couple of good books just when it comes to financial literacy is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's a great book to start with.
Yes.
If you are looking to get into investing, The Intelligent Investor is another very popular book as well. But there's so many different financial literacy books that can really help you gain that base. And then I would say to ask questions as well. And there are no dumb questions because like what you said, that terminology of a 401k, IRA, and a regular brokerage account, it's not always talked about and people just don't know, but you won't know unless you ask. So I would say to ask those questions, and I always even try to create a safe space for anybody that I come across to just share any type of knowledge that I know because everyone has to start somewhere.
Absolutely. And I know right now, especially, knowledge is power, and you don't know what you don't know. So the more professional people that I continue to come across, I learn something new from them every day. So once someone has taken the time to actually pick up a few books, learn a little bit more about the terminology, and they want to take that next step in meeting with a professional, what are some of the traits that someone should look for in a good professional person to meet with to have that type of discussion?
I'm so glad that you asked that question because there are a ton of professionals out there. The one thing I would say is you want to find someone that you trust because you are going to be, it's more than just money. It's your life, your goals, your family's legacy. So you want to find someone that you trust, someone that who will create a safe space for you to ask those questions and be vulnerable with. And then also someone who's big on communication. That's a big one to make sure that you guys are having that constant updates on what's going on in the world or constant updates on what's going on in your life because life is always changing. And so you want to make sure that you're able to get in touch with someone about your goals and what's going on. And you just also want to make sure that you want to make sure that they have that communication, they provide that safe space, and that they really will make sure that your money aligns with your goals as well. That's super important.
So accessibility, right?
Yes.
And getting those goals really aligned and in order. Do you have any advice right now for those who may be in the entrepreneurial space and some of the different types of concepts that they should be paying attention to as entrepreneurs to better position themselves? Would it just be financial literacy in general, or do you have suggestions around maybe for those who are in the entrepreneurial space, just some things that they should know?
Yes, I would first say to budget. Make sure that you budget, especially if you're in that entrepreneurial state, because you never know about the cash flow, but it's so important that you know how much is coming in and how much is going out. And I know a lot of people shy away from a budget. They're like, I don't want to do that and just be tied to, some people say living on ramen noodles or just feeling like you're constrained. But a budget is telling your money where to go instead of your money telling you where to go and how to live. So I definitely would say to do a budget. It will give you so much peace of mind just to know, oh, I actually have a lot of money left over, or I need to cut some expenses here and there, but you at least know where you need to cut those expenses. And I would say financial literacy as well, because even like I mentioned before, on my parents' journey, they invested into everything possible that you could think of because they knew that they couldn't just rely on a 9-to-5 job, but they could have saved a lot of time, money, and then stress as well by having the proper financial foundation, which they could have learned from financial literacy.
Absolutely. So the more you know, the more you can grow, right?
Yes.
Morgan, it has been a true pleasure having you today. We really can't thank you enough, and we look forward to you coming back soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
When will someone know that they need a coach?
If you're looking at your life and you're taking an evaluation of yourself and you're not happy with where you are and you can't seem to come up with what you need to do to become happy, then, you know, a life coach may be that individual that you need. Now, if you're just having a rut, just, you know, a week at a time and you can kind of talk yourself out of it or you get over that, you may not necessarily need a life coach. But when you are really stuck and you've tried this and you tried that and it's not working for you and you just feel like you need more, then I definitely believe that a life coach would be someone that you can reach out to